Okay, I'm like ready for this to be the official thing.
Okay.
So this is probably at least the fourth or fifth time that I personally have attempted to start a podcast. I tried by myself. I tried with that guy, Chris, that I became friends with from Toronto.
Yeah.
Right? We were going to do a podcast together.
That was like last year.
Yeah. And then I think I tried again by myself, and then we tried it before, and then I just tried it with my mom, and like something was just like, it's not time. But now I have a name that I like. I have a little tagline that just came to me, and I feel like I have more structure, and I feel like I'm ready.
Go ahead and tell people the name.
Welcome everyone to We're Not Woke. I still have to read the tagline. We're Not Woke, a podcast where we share our perspectives on life while rooted in the knowing that at the end of the day, none of us really have the answers to life's biggest questions. I can't read my handwriting. I was so excited. But yeah, a podcast where we share our perspective on life while knowing that none of us really know anything at the end of the day.
I love it.
So, yeah, my name is Sienna Noel. I am your permanent resident host on this show. And tonight I have my lovely partner, Carrington, joining me for episode 1.
Hello. I don't know how introductions work.
It's okay.
Hello, everybody, if you're listening.
But I'm excited to have you as the first person. I think one reason I really wanted to do at least an episode with you is because we spend so much time together.
True.
So I feel like the viewers get to know me better through getting to know you and like how we interact and how our dynamic is, because that's a huge part of our life right now. So, yeah. So I actually wanted to ask you to do like a brief intro.
Okay.
Just, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. Just like where you grew up, how you got to where you are now in a shortened version, and some things that you love about life that you enjoy doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I grew up in the Bay Area, California, a small city called Fremont. Moved out of Fremont when I was 18, moved to Pasadena, California, SoCal, and for the past 5 going on 6 years I've been living in LA, technically, I guess now. So was I supposed to reveal that?
It's okay.
Yeah, so
I'll bleep it out. I can bleep it out.
But my life, I went to school. I went to Northridge, CSU Northridge, and was studying film media management. Film has always been a huge passion of mine, and so right now I'm just like trying to figure out what path I want to take in the industry.
Yeah.
I don't want to go the traditional route. You obviously know this, but I want to find a way to create for myself and create some sort of sustainable online business. And that's where I'm at right now. I'm trying to figure it all out and navigate it. So, yeah, what I love about life.
Yeah.
I love life. I love life. When I feel really good, everything feels like amazing. Nature, obviously, love being outdoors, getting some sunlight. And I love the journey, The past few years for me has been really rough. I went through a lot of stuff, a lot of personal struggles, whatnot. But coming out on the other side, that's like really rewarding, and being able to look back and see all the challenges that you go through and where you were mentally in that space and where you can end up. Like, it's a really nice feeling knowing that things do get better on the other side. So
yeah.
I just love the journey of life. Love learning, love failing, although it hurts.
Yeah.
But that's just part of this game, this experience. So I'm here for it all.
That was like a better answer than I could have imagined.
What did you think I was going to say?
I thought you were going to be like, I like basketball.
Of course.
Like,
no, I'm assuming you want some juicy content.
I just want whatever like comes out, whatever you feel. But well, I guess that kind of actually like really well leads into what I wanted to talk to you about. So this show is going to be kind of centered around spirituality, because to me spirituality is just your personal belief system and how you personally view the world and your relationship to whatever this life is. Right. That's spirituality to me. I don't think it's all about crystals or whatever, you know. So talking about how one of the things you love about life is the journey, I wanted to know when was your, I don't want to necessarily use the term spiritual awakening, but that's kind of what they use for it. Like, when did you notice yourself wanting to focus more on your awareness and like your relationship to life?
That's a really good question. Growing up, I kind of always knew that I was blessed in a sense. My grandmother was very religious, grew up in a religious household, as you know. The messages resonated with me, but the religious aspect didn't necessarily follow through. Like, I didn't really practice Christianity. I didn't, practice going to church and reading the Bible and all that. But the core messages and values really stuck with me. And I knew from a young age, like, I was special and that I'm here for a reason that's much deeper than, the surface level stuff.
Then you can understand.
Right. Yeah. And, I may not have the answers, but there's some like knowing within me that, it's something's much bigger than me. And so I think moving away from, my hometown and kind of being on this journey alone the past 5 years, like all my family is back home in the Bay Area. And so me just being on my own and going through my ups and downs, it kind of brought me closer to like who I really am on the inside. And quite frankly, the first time I took psychedelic mushrooms, that really like expanded my entire universe, like in the way I perceive the world. Interesting story.
Yeah, you have to tell a story about the dog.
The dog, yeah. So, the first time I took shrooms, like I was with a group of people and we were all, outside having a good time, and there was a big dog there, and he was, part of the group. And I remember sitting down, like crisscross applesauce, and like sitting like within a foot from this dog and staring into this dog's soul. And like it hit me right then, like that connection that I experienced with that dog. Like we had a staring contest. We literally had a staring contest, like didn't move, nothing. But that connection that I experienced with that dog and that I felt was so just grand. I was like, wow, like this is like an actual conscious being that I can't, communicate in words with, but there's the awareness is there, he's aware of me, I'm aware of him, and it goes much deeper than, oh, he's just an animal, So a lot of people can disregard animals in nature because they're like, oh,
it's just an animal.
Yeah, but I felt something there. It's hard to put into words. It's a feeling. And that really like opened my eyes and my perspective just to everything. And since then, I kind of dabbled in the realm of spirituality, if you will. And that my whole journey since then has been trying to improve upon myself and again learn from everything that I've been through in life since then. So I guess that is the whole awareness of in and of itself. Was that moment. That moment kind of sparked it, but from a young age, I always knew that like, something was much bigger than me. Couldn't really pinpoint what it was. But I never really could relate to the religious aspect of it. So,
I hear you. Because mine was kind of the same thing. Like, I didn't grow up in as a religious of a house as you, but my mom was Christian, or at least she grew up Christian, so she still held some of those same values and stuff. But I remember feeling, and I don't know if you felt this way too at all, but I remember feeling at a really young age, like 6, starting to kind of hear about religions and learning what they are, and immediately being like, well, if there's so many of them, then how can any of them be the one answer? What? Like, there's no way, So I never really found any sort of connection to any of them. I really liked Greek mythology because I thought it was fun, and I liked the stories and like all the different types of mythology. But
Who's your favorite Greek mythology god or goddess? Just curious.
I don't know all of them, so I'm not like a full-on like in-depth nerd about it, but of the ones that I remember thinking were cool, I always thought Poseidon was cool.
God of like the sea.
Yeah. I always thought that was cool. And Hades, like like to rule the underworld, you know? Like what the fuck would that be like? Because we just imagine it. That's the thing though, we just imagine it as like dark and hell and fire and horrible things. But it's like, how do you know?
That's just the way that it's been, you know, portrayed to us.
Right? Yeah. Like as soon as death comes into the picture, it's just like bad. It's just all bad. But how do you know? Suffering on this like plane seems worse than dying sometimes. I don't know if that's a controversial take, but I feel
maybe. Yeah. I think the thing with death is like it kind of goes hand in hand with the whole religious aspect. Is like we're taught to fear death and fear, you know, the afterlife and, you know, whatever that entails, but no one knows what it entails. Like you can't relay a message of what the afterlife is like if you're gone.
Yeah.
And like, there are some people who have like, you know, died, they've been brain dead or whatever, and then they get revived. Yeah. But I think the idea of like a complete absence scares a lot of people. Yeah. But we have no idea what that entails.
And it's also just like viewing it from the perspective of what it's like to be this person. Yeah. Like you can only imagine what the void is from like seeing it and feeling it through this physical body. Yeah. Like it's hard for us to perceive anything any other way. So like that does seem terrifying, you know? Like if I was just an empty body floating in a dark void and there was nothing else there, like that seems terrifying.
But would you have the awareness that you're not alive or
I don't know.
Right? It's trippy.
I mean, I guess if you die, if what's left is just your awareness, whatever that thing is that we all have, like I don't know. Is it all just one thing? Is it like a pool or like a drop from a pool of this one thing?
Yeah,
right?
That seems to be like kind of like a common
comparison.
Yeah, comparison or analogy. You know, the whole idea of like, oh, imagine an ocean, and we're all just individual drops of the ocean, but collectively we all come from the same thing. Yeah. When you put it in that perspective, it makes sense. Yeah. But in our physical realities, it's hard to comprehend because, you know.
Well, I think that's why everything comes through stories. Like I was thinking about this too in terms of the Bible and religion. Like if I were to go back, which I probably won't do anytime soon because I'm a slow-ass reader. But, like, if I were to go back and read every, you know, religious text, they're all stories. Like, the story of Jesus is a story. He may have been a real person, but it's a story with similar archetypes and characters as other religious texts. Right. Like Greek mythology. Exactly. It's explained in a whole different way, but... all we can do is personify things. Right. Why do you think we love cartoon characters so much? We personify them, you know, like you could have talking vegetables for kids. Right. And it's fun and we understand.
You're talking about VeggieTales? Yeah. Did you ever watch VeggieTales?
Yeah, I did. I thought that shit was so annoying.
Dude, I used to love VeggieTales.
Oh my god, I can't remember if it was the cucumber or the tomato, but one of their voices bugged the shit out of me.
I think it was the cucumber.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. And then also I was just like, for some cartoon vegetables, you're not as cute as you could be. You know, like the animation the style of animation kind of made me feel weird. Yeah. And I was just like...
I was like early, I don't even know, 2000s or late 90s, something like that.
Yeah, probably early 2000s.
We've come a long way since then.
Oh my god.
But back to your point. No, all these things are... personified.
But yeah, they're all just stories. So it would be so interesting to one day be able to see the similarities throughout all of the different stories and interpretations. Because that's why I think, like you said, that's just a good comparison in terms of drops in the ocean, because that's a physical way that we can think about something. Yeah. Like
it's the only way we can kind of comprehend it.
Right. We can only conceptualize things within the 3D space that we know. Right. But it seems like a lot exists outside of that.
It's true. There's just so much unexplored and so much in the metaphysical realm that we just can't really wrap our minds around because we can't like you said, see it.
Yeah.
It's not a part of our physical reality, but it's there.
It's like something we all know is there, whether
Right.
you call it coincidence or
right, chance
or chance or
Yeah.
you know, science. Even science, like science is attempting to explain everything that exists within our world. Like that's what it is. That's what its goal is. You know, I always think about the fact that like fucking aloe vera, it did what it does to help people before we could understand why it did that. You know, just because science discovered what properties it has to make it be cooling and help with sunburns and stuff, doesn't mean that's when it started doing that. So, like, how many things do we not know about because science doesn't have the tools to figure that out yet?
That's true.
You know?
It's a whole world, a whole universe.
It's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's something that we all know it's there. We all
Right.
know we come from something else.
Right.
The chicken or the egg, you know?
That's a trippy question.
Who the
That's
fuck
a really
knows?
trippy
I really
question.
don't understand any of that shit. Like,
Yeah.
like the idea of evolution and how we got here. I mean, I get it. I get the theory. It, you know, I get
It's
it.
the most logical.
It's the most logical explanation for sure. But like something's missing, man. A lot of things are missing.
There's
and
a
I
lot of
just don't
gaps.
There's so many gaps.
Yeah.
And so it's like, how do we really know? How can
Yeah.
we really even prove any of that shit, you
Right.
know?
Right.
Fuck. Because like most fossils are just like fragments and pieces.
That's true. Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of what's it called? Like big fossil structures that they put together in museums and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like a lot of them are plaster pieces
yeah.
and kind of
They're just like filled
constructed
in
a
and
way.
assumed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. That's not denying that, they did find bones or
Yeah.
traces of fossilized bones and whatnot, but to say like, oh, this
This is definitely how this thing looked
this
because we
isn't
had these pieces.
but it's just a replica.
Yeah, exactly.
And the replica in and of itself is based off of someone's interpretation of like,
what they
this
found.
and this is what this may have looked like.
Yeah. Yeah, because weren't there a couple times, I can't remember what dinosaur it was, but they, like, scientists concluded that, this was not actually a dinosaur, like, we accidentally just put this bone from another one. I can't remember which one it was, but I remember my brother talking about that and bringing that up. I think it was, like, Stegosaurus, the one with the plates on its back.
Okay.
Something was like, oh, yeah, those weren't actually plates on their back, that was, like, a
Are they
cut of
rings?
like a femur from a bigger dinosaur.
Really?
Something like that. I don't know.
That's
I don't know for
trippy.
sure, but
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. That
I
just goes
don't
to say
know
there's a
either.
lot of gaps.
there
you
are a
know?
lot of gaps. Like who fucking
and
knows?
I'm not one to like deny science because obviously the world wouldn't be the world that it is without
Yeah.
science, and science and technology has obviously helped humanity in tremendous ways. But I think a lot of the narratives that we grew up believing, the people or books or authority figures or whatever who teach us these things, they have the burden of proof. And what that means is like they are the ones with the evidence, and for us, the common people, we can't disprove them. Like how are you to disprove that without being called, conspiracy theorist
Right,
or
crazy
tinfoil hat,
yeah,
whatever. But they're the ones, they can put out any statement in the world and be like, oh, we have all the evidence, all the science, all the facts,
Yeah.
and we have no way of disproving them. And
Yeah.
how does that make it true?
Yeah.
So I think it's important to question everything.
I love you.
I love you too.
I was just gonna say too, like, because we all in school get an idea of what science equipment looks like to an extent. Some public schools and private schools especially have like not binoculars, fucking microscopes.
Yeah.
And, and telescopes and Bunsen burners and like these things where you can learn in a controlled environment a piece of what the scientists are claimed to do. But that shit is fucking expensive. So the majority of the public does not have access to any of these tools to figure out any of this stuff on their own. So all we have to go by is what other people are telling us.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's true. And that is exemplified not just in science, but everything.
In a lot of things,
in
yeah.
like everything. the news.
Yeah,
everything.
All we have is somebody else's word, somebody else's
yeah.
interpretation. And even for the stuff that, like, we talk about that we've learned, there are certain things that, you know, we heard from an outside source. But then for me, at least personally, I'll hear something, and then once I experience it in my personal life, then I'm like, okay, I can,
so, like,
I can see this.
What's an example of that?
Like the idea that there's something bigger outside of us. I might not agree with the way that other people interpret it, but it's something I've heard said to me. And then I've had, in my moments of personal, like, just personal moments with myself, experienced a feeling that was like, oh yeah, it's more than just whatever this is.
Right.
You know? And, like, it's similar to how you had that experience with the dog as well, because whatever it was you recognized was between you guys, it was like, okay, we share something here. The same thing.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But that's, like, something I've experienced personally.
Yeah. It's hard to put into words.
Yeah.
It's really a feeling. And, you know, I think feelings are much more powerful than words could ever be. But, yeah, sometimes it's hard to explain the phenomenon.
Yeah.
The phenomena of the world and the universe
Dude,
around
who
us.
actually fucking knows? Like, that's the whole thing. Like, I love talking about this stuff, and
It's fascinating.
right? But at the end of the day, it's like, it's all just speculation from what we got.
Yeah.
You know? That's it. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
And I won't know. But it's fun to guess.
It's true.
But then people get so pissed.
Yeah.
When your guess is not the same guess as
I
theirs.
know. People take it personal, start attacking you. And then it's just like how can you attack someone for just questioning the world around them? Like, isn't that the point?
I don't know, maybe.
Questions.
Yeah, but, like, I don't know, maybe there are some people who just have gotten so comfortable in where they are, and they're okay with where they are, and they don't want to have to think about those things, because it can be exhausting sometimes. And so they're like, no, don't, no.
Yeah.
I get that. Like, but I don't know. I don't know. Who knows? I know it is hard to, like, think about the idea of looking at somebody for being curious and immediately shit on them.
Yeah. It's tough, man. Because so many people get canceled, or, you know, you distrust them and you can never, you know, take them seriously, or whatever the case may be. But it's just like, at the end of the day, they just have a different opinion than you.
Yeah.
Is that really harmful?
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's like you would have no idea that this even existed if you weren't looking at it on the internet right now. But fucking haters, man. Like, that was...
True.
I know I've talked about it a lot recently, and for anybody who's watching this who doesn't know, which I wouldn't expect everybody to know, because it's been on my page, I've received... Is the correct word absorbitant?
I don't know if I've heard that in a sentence.
An absorbitant amount of hate?
Sure, it
I don't
sounds
know.
right.
It might not be right. But a lot.
Right.
For what I realized was a video where I was kind of just asking questions.
Well, describe to the people who aren't aware, like, describe what the video is about.
So I posted a video, and you good? Okay. And I think I started off by asking if anyone can tell me why we're the only species on this planet not living by the laws of nature, which that is not even as specific to what I was thinking, but regardless. And then, like, if anyone thinks it's weird that we're governed by the laws of men mostly men, whose ideologies is just, like, mainly to profit off of us. So I just asked those questions. And then a lot of people, I don't know if people felt like I was challenging the way that they live their lives and, like, blaming them for how they live their life being the reason that we're in some kind of shit show right now. because it's nobody, like no one person's fault, all the shitty things that are happening in this world.
Right.
But so I don't know if it some people took it as that, but fuck, I got clowned by thousands of people, and people are still like duetting it and shit like that.
To this day. How long ago did you post that?
Probably like 2 weeks ago. I know. And okay, so I fucked up too because, I mean, I don't know. It was supposed to happen the way it did, but I posted a response video just like clarifying what I was trying to get at, because I get it. It was a 45-second video, and I was high at the beach. Like, you know, like full disclosure, like that was a high thought, you know, but it felt valid to me because I was like, yeah, why are these things the way that they are? But so I just clarified and saying like, I think we're too intelligent of a species to not figure out a way to use the technology and the knowledge that we do have to live in a more harmonious way with nature. Like, we should be able to figure that out by now, you know, or have the money to fund it, or whatever the fuck we need to do. But then that even got worse responses, and people like, bro, you're so pressed. Like, she's trying to save herself. And I was like, okay, I'm turning all these comments off, because if you were being this mean to me in my house, or if this many people were arguing, I would ask them to fucking leave. I'd be like, all right, I don't want to be a part of it. Like, you can fucking walk, you know, get out of my house. And it's my page, so I'm like, I don't need that shit here. But then the reason that was a fuck up is because now they have nowhere else to go, and they have to comment the shit on my other videos. And I'm like, oh, this is lame. This is a video about Rosemary, and you're talking to me about how much of a bitch I am because I don't want to live by the laws of nature.
Dude, it's tough out here.
How many people have just been like, oh, the law, you want to live by the laws of nature? Those don't favor you, honey.
Yeah. You'll get mauled by a bear. You'll get
the consent's not a thing in nature. Dude, I have
the whole consent argument. How many times have you heard that?
So many times.
Yeah.
So many times.
Yeah.
And like, I get it. Sure, whatever the fuck you're saying. But hey, dude, like, it's still a fucking problem, unfortunately.
Yeah. It just seems, honestly, it just seems like a lot of people are kind of just, maybe they're not doing this literally, but it seems as if they're just copy pasting kind of what
a lot of people were. Like, a lot of people were just commenting like, bro, crying, laughing emojis, and like cancel signs. Yeah. And I'm like, And then there was a snippet that you sent me today from the Soul of Jarrett podcast with Eben. Right. And he was talking about how so many of those people will hear one thing and then it just like triggers them. Yeah. You know, like if it touches a spot in them, they just start typing and they go with it, which I get, because when I get upset or emotional, even if I get excited, it's like I act on that emotion immediately, you know? So I get that. And then another thing my dad told me was, obviously there's something valuable in what I'm saying if it's triggering such an emotion from people. 100%. Whatever that emotion is. Right. And, but yeah, so it's fucking wild. It was trippy. And it got to me because I'm a sensitive ass person. And I was just like, I didn't want this to happen. Right. Because the whole fear that has stopped me from posting on the internet is exactly that. Because that's the worst that can happen to you. You know, it's like you get canceled or your account gets banned or whatever. But even then you just make another one. But
you're just trying to spread a good message and, you know,
at least help. What I think is a good message, but and some people don't. So, like, there are some people who are telling me I'm spreading misinformation. And if they feel that way, then, like, you know, that sucks. Yeah. Because I was just asking a question.
I mean, literally, yeah.
But regardless, but I have gotten over it by now. Like, it's not affecting me in the same way because I know it doesn't need to. It was just a thing I needed to go through, but also I'm like glad it happened early because now I feel a lot less worried and I'm like, okay, I've been through it. You
went through that
and now I can just say whatever the fuck I want because I really have zero control over what people think about me.
That's true.
So
that's true. You're a trooper, man, because some people really get hit by that hate.
So many people told me to delete my account.
I'm sure people say terrible things on the internet. And it's like you can look at that and really take it personally and, you know, fold and really just crumble from that point. Or you can, you know, find a way to filter it out. And I feel like that's obviously easier said than done. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, people are making comments about you as an individual and your character, whatever. But
But off of a
worth it.
45-second video of
Yeah,
me, they
it's
have
not
no
worth it.
idea who I am.
Yeah.
Like, not a fucking clue. Most of them didn't even know my name.
That's true.
And then a lot of them just knew that I was sticking my toes in the sand. That was the other part. I had my toes like on a rock in the sand, and some of the funny comments were like, "What's up with them toes? No, she got them grippers." That's what
No, not the grippers.
she got the grippers. Why are your feet out like that?
No. You gotta post like a
shit was funny.
screenshot of the
I know. I
toes
kind of
on
want to
this
do a
video.
video like the one that you saw. I know I should actually. Yeah, because I can do this. The editing's the thing. No, but I wanna like as time goes on, because I know Jenna Marbles did it, and I love the way she handled her hate. And the Bungiel video that you showed me, like that was fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Like I want to take some of the quotes, the comments that are just funny, and do something with them.
Spin it,
It's
you know?
funny.
Yeah, make a joke
so
out of it, you know?
I actually commented laughing emojis back on somebody's
Really?
hate comment because it made me laugh.
Oh my gosh.
I can't remember
I
what
mean,
it was.
that's not a
I'll
bad
have
way
to
to go
save it.
about it.
I know.
You know, just don't let it affect you.
No, like it genuinely made me laugh. I was like,
That's good. If it makes you laugh, that's good. You can't even be mad at that.
Yeah, exactly, right? I'm like, you're funny. It's okay. Oh, no.
The internet.
The internet's fucking
The
wild.
internet.
You're starting to get more active in your internet community. How's that been?
Oh man. The internet community, I guess my community is crypto Twitter. It's cool. It's really cool because there's a whole stigma around crypto.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people have heard the narratives. It's a scam. It's a Ponzi. It's this. It's that.
It's hard to understand if
It's
you're not
really
really paying
hard,
attention
right?
to it.
It's really hard to grasp the idea of it because a lot of it is intangible.
Yeah.
But so are many other things in this life. But when it comes to the market and the crypto market specifically, I'm kind of speaking on behalf of NFTs.
Right.
That's kind of separate from like
Crypto
market.
Yeah.
It's still obviously crypto, but
Yeah.
NFTs is kind of its own little niche, however you
Yeah.
want to say it. But I've been around, I guess. I've been around. I've been in these streets. I've been around since like August of 2021.
Yeah.
And I've just been on crypto Twitter, and I've been in the space, in the Solana ecosystem, and I've seen the rise and the fall of the market.
Yeah.
I saw Solana and Bitcoin and everything at their all-time highs. I saw that shit crash and dump hard.
Yeah.
I've seen how people reacted to it. I've
Yeah.
seen people in the NFT space who, again, folded and just, rugged people, stole their money,
Yeah.
whatever. But I've also seen people continuously build communities and
Yeah.
projects throughout an entire year and a half almost.
Yeah.
And to this day, they're still going hard. And
Yeah.
so for me, it's cool because I feel like now I've gotten to a point where I've witnessed, the highs and the lows of it. And I'm at a point where, I and, you two are now involved in some pretty solid communities. And it's cool because on Discord and Twitter and, other platforms, people are banding together and rallying around these certain projects. And you can view it as a Ponzi, but at the end of the day, I think what people are building is much, much, much bigger than what we can comprehend at this scale because we're so early into just the realm of this new digital space.
Yeah.
Web3 is kind of the term for that. Web2 being traditional social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, MySpace.
Yeah.
Just traditional social media. Web2 is where, you create an account,
Yeah.
you post online, but everything on that platform is owned by the company, the platform.
And it's like targeted at advertising to you. Like that's the main goal, right?
They
is
take
to get your information.
Right. They take your information, they take your data, your content, whatever, and the whole point is for those big companies to profit. Whereas Web3 and the transition to Web3, I've witnessed is the whole thing around Bitcoin and just Web3 in general is putting the power back to the people. Mm-hmm. And so with these NFT communities I'm a part of, excuse me, people are putting out projects and you're able to mint NFTs and have full ownership over that NFT.
Yeah.
And artists are now able to enter the space and sell their art online and grow communities that way. Because think about it this way, like if you're an artist, if you're a digital artist or a photographer, right, and you start up an Instagram page, the majority of the people on your Instagram page are just going to be a bunch of random people.
Right.
Like you don't really have like a tight-knit community that's able to be formed unless you're like huge. But for smaller artists and smaller creators, it's kind of hard to really have a personal relationship with these people.
Yeah.
Whereas Web3 and crypto and NFTs, you're able to put your art and put your work out there and form communities on Discord, on Twitter, and everyone's there to kind of help each other. Everyone's there to grow. Everyone's there to learn about this new wave, really.
Yeah.
And I could go on about this because I love it. It's really fascinating to me. But yeah, it's definitely something that you have to do a lot of research on before getting in.
Yeah.
And there's skepticism in everything.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure no one thought Apple was going to be as big as it is today in the early 2000s.
Right.
I'm pretty sure people didn't expect Facebook or these Amazon, these mega billion-dollar companies to
be what they are today.
Yeah, and have such an impact. And the last bull run, we saw people buying NFTs for hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you can make the argument, oh, it's just a picture. It's just I could just screenshot it, but you can't sell it.
Right.
You can't sell it.
Yeah.
And so that's...
And there's a lot more utility that comes with having it than just a screenshot. Like, that's something that I've understood is really important in the NFT community. Because if it is just a picture and that's all that it is, then people can just screenshot it and it doesn't have any value other than that.
Right.
But if there's other stuff that you get from being a holder, like from somebody who buys an art piece and holds on to it, you get like all these benefits and you get to be a part of this community and get to be a part of all these things. And I think that's really cool.
No, it's definitely cool. And that's the thing, is like you have to do so much research because there are a lot of communities that are formed and then, the owner of the community it's called a rug pool, when they take all the money and just leave and
pull the rug out from under your feet.
Exactly. And never communicate again and you lose your money. But there's communities who, they're in it for the long term and, they're really trying to build more than just a brand. They're really trying to obviously bring people together and have a real presence in the next 5-10 years, and those are the communities that you want to find and try to be a part of. And I think the most valuable part, aside from the money, the most valuable part is the connections that you're able to make, because there's people who are working full-time in Web3 and in crypto and are able to start their careers. There's people who, they've been working corporate lives and, maybe on the inside they're an artist, so they really want to get their art out into the world, and they just haven't been able to do that in the traditional space. And now on Web3 and through Twitter and Discord and whatnot, they're able to get their art out there and form communities and build connections and relationships with people that can take them just so much further. Yeah. And, connections and networking is obviously a huge part of growth and people's progressions through this life. And I think there's a lot of opportunities in the crypto space for people to make some lasting connections. So it's really cool. And there's a lot of memes, a lot of funny memes.
There are funny people.
A lot of funny memes.
Could you do me a favor? For some reason, I'm just getting nervous. Can you check and see if the camera's still recording?
It's still recording.
You know?
Yeah.
Okay. Because last time that happened with me and my mom, I didn't hear any noise.
Oh, okay.
Because I know usually you hear it when it clicks off.
Yeah.
Thanks. Cool.
Yeah, it's at 42 minutes already.
Dope.
Oh, I'm gonna go pee really quick.
Okay.
Just cut it, though.
No, well, I was gonna say something. So, in layman's terms, I guess the way that I understand, because I have not been anywhere as in depth in the crypto space. In the crispo space, I haven't been as involved in the crypto space as Carrington, by any means. So I've just kind of heard little things that he's told me here and there when we talk about it. But from what I understand, it's kind of like a decentralized way of building a community-built business. So, instead of somebody building a business and then, having their business go public on the stock market and having all these investors, and then they just, profit off of all of it, it's almost like, hey, I'm starting this business. We need everybody to get in. And then everybody benefits off of it in their own ways, you know? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's something like that. Like,
let me add to that.
it's a digitalized version of community-built businesses that has the potential to give back and feed the people who invested in it, like, for real.
100%.
And I think that's really cool.
100%. Like, I don't know if I want to reveal what project I'm in, but, you know, there was a project where these motherfuckers are serious. These motherfuckers are so serious about their shit, and I can't stress that enough.
Yeah.
These dudes are building the Disney, the Pixar, the Marvel of the crypto space.
Yeah.
And I am so excited for what they have in store in the future. And they have events. They had events in Lisbon. They had events in Paris. They had an event in LA. They have an event in New York in 2 weeks. And these are real live events that, you know, because the whole thing about Web3 is like you're anonymous.
Yeah.
Your profile picture for the most part is the NFT that you hold. So a lot of people don't know what these people look like.
Yeah.
A lot of people refuse to reveal what they look like because of, you know, they have a high net worth, you know, in crypto, and they don't want people to kind of know who they are. But hosting these events, these real life events, gives people the opportunity to, like, you know, kind of solidify those connections and relationships that they built online in the real world.
Yeah.
And, you know, I had the opportunity, I was fortunate enough to get a tweet alert, a notification on my phone that this project had like 10 booster packs for their project that were available in LA. And I was in the middle of the shower, got that notification, busted my ass to downtown Santa Monica, and rode my bike there, and I was the 9th out of the 10th person to get this booster pack. And
you got to go on a scavenger hunt.
It was a scavenger hunt.
Like, that's
the fun
so much
thing
fun.
too. That's the fun thing too. Exactly. It was a scavenger hunt. Like, I felt like a kid because they posted like these 2 photos, and they were like, you have to find these 2 here, take photos, and tag us on Twitter and use this hashtag. That shit was fun as fuck, dude. Like, it was cool. Like, I was biking.
It's a treasure hunt, bro.
Oh, man, it was a treasure hunt, man. And I got the 9th out of the 10th booster pack, and I'm like, dude, one day, this booster pack alone could be worth a lot of money. But aside from that, just the experience alone.
And the experience that it holds,
exactly.
and like the actual value besides money that they are providing for the community that they're building is huge.
It's huge. It's
like,
massive.
It can make long-lasting relationships.
Right.
It can, you know, benefit so many people in so many ways that, I mean, we've barely begun to understand Web3. And I think another reason why it scares a lot of people is because it's kind of like on this midway level between could be really bad or could be really amazing for the collective. Right. And it just depends on kind of who gets their hands in it and what we do with it. So it's really great to learn about the positive possibilities of it, because then the more people that are working towards that, it's going to kind of like tilt the seesaw, you know, towards that more.
100%.
So
there's a lot of skepticism in the air, but
and I understand.
There's risks that you got to take in this life, I feel like, in order to reap the rewards. And you know, no one knew that Facebook and MySpace and Instagram and Twitter, no one knew these platforms were going to be as big as they are today 10 years ago. Yeah. You know? Mm-hmm. And people were scared of, I always bring up this analogy, 10, 15 years ago, whatever, people were always scared of the idea of putting their debit card information or credit card information online to buy something online. Right. Here we are today.
And your computer saves that information. It
saves the information. Yeah. You Apple Pay things, like, and that's just the
natural.
People
are starting to pay with their palm.
Yeah. Oh,
or their face.
Don't even get started with that.
That's crazy.
But that's kind of just like the natural evolution of technology and where things are headed. And so I feel like kind of early in the world of crypto and NFTs. And, you know, I feel like it's
exciting because there's so many possibilities.
So many possibilities.
Yeah. And cool. Like you said, not even just about the money, but just possibilities of where it could go. Right. For the world. So I'm excited. I really want to review. I want to, like, not to brag, but I want to brag about what project we have. Is that a stupid idea?
I don't know. Maybe one day.
Because it's just a JPEG at the end of the day.
Is.
But like
maybe one day.
But I'm so excited. Okay. Before, if we ever get to a point where we're talking about this and we can reveal where we feel comfortable enough to reveal what it is. I just want to put it out there now.
Yeah, I know
found
exactly.
this project. I have not been studying the NFT space or crypto by any means by him, but I've seen his mistakes. I've let him make my mistakes for me. And the first project I found on my own were fucking
solid.
It's solid.
It's a solid
and it's so
project.
fun. And I'm so excited about it.
Yeah.
And I just thought they were cute.
Yeah.
I was like, I want one. They're so cute.
Yeah. From day one.
From
you're
day one.
literally like an OG.
I'm an OG for this project.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Oh my god. This is so fun.
Yeah.
I knew this was going to be fun.
Yeah.
I like have not even looked at my notes yet. That's how you know it's a
man.
good conversation.
That's true.
But we talked about things we were talking about earlier about haters and how like if you're saying something that stirs up feelings in somebody, like good or bad, it's kind of a positive thing, like it means something's valuable or whatever. So I actually also wanted to ask you about what your feelings are around the title of this podcast, because
Did you give a chance to
I
tell
did.
people the
Yeah,
title?
we said it at the beginning.
Okay.
We're not woke.
Not woke.
So what is that? Because when I first told you that, it brought something up in you.
It did.
So why? Like, what is it?
It's just the word woke.
Yeah.
It's weird because it's just a word.
Yeah.
It's just a word. But it's like that word woke kind of has some connotation with it. I mean, I guess politically, woke tends to be like, oh, those liberals, they're so...
I associate,
you know?
when I hear the word woke too, I think liberals.
Yeah, and me, I don't really identify with either party. I'm kind of just a human being.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be labeled and categorized.
Yeah.
But I guess for me, that's kind of where the strong feelings come from. Is just like I don't want to be categorized, and just that whole word woke. Yeah, it invokes that feeling because it kind of puts you on a pedestal in a way.
Yeah.
And I think the past few years we've seen so many people do things on the internet to appear as being woke.
Yeah.
And it always invokes the same thing of like, okay, you're only doing that to make yourself feel better, or you're only saying that to make yourself, and I can't speak for everyone, but that's kind of like a general consensus. It kind of just puts you on a pedestal, even if that's not your intention.
Right.
And I don't know. I'm not woke. We're not
No, I
woke,
hear you.
know?
I hear you. I'm not trying to be. Like fucking, I don't know. I really don't fucking know shit. I really don't. And like that's something that my mom says a lot, and a lot of people that I know say a lot. The more I know, the more I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Or the more that I learn, the more, I don't know, something like that.
It's like a
the more I know, the more I don't know.
Yeah,
it's
a
that's
common
like a
phrase,
thing,
yeah.
right? Because it's true. It's like, what's the quote that you like so much? I know you know.
Oh man, wait, let me think about this. The absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. Simply because we have evidence that something does exist doesn't mean that we have evidence that something doesn't exist. And there are known knowns and there are known unknowns, but there are also unknown unknowns, which are things that we don't know that we don't know. It's crazy to think about. It's trippy, but really dissect that for a minute. Like I was preaching that shit in high school. Because one of my friends told me early on, I think I was in like 8th grade when I heard that for the first time. And I like Googled it. I looked it up. And that quote to this day still kind of trips me up.
Yeah.
Like we know, okay, this is a mug.
Yeah.
This is a notebook. And we know there are unknowns. We know the possibility of aliens. We know the possibility of intergalactic things. That's an unknown that's known.
Yeah.
But there are also unknown unknowns, things that we don't know that we don't know. And I think that goes with what you were saying of the more you know, the more you know you don't know.
Yeah.
Like that. Like, there's just a whole universe of things that we just don't know.
There's way too much for the human brain to hold.
And we don't know that we don't know.
I know.
Like,
we don't know.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
I like to think about, I forget where I heard this one, but they were saying it was like, just because a cat doesn't know Wi-Fi exists, it doesn't mean it doesn't. Or something like that. Something like that. Something about a cat not knowing that Wi-Fi exists.
Okay.
And I'm like, yeah, that's true.
I see where they're going with that. Of course, you would remember the cat one.
Oh my god.
That's funny. But yeah, like, I don't know. What do we know? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Like in the grand scheme of
absolutely
the possibilities.
Nothing.
Nothing.
I mean, just think about light and the light spectrum and the waves that, we can't see the physical waves, but our brain is able to interpret them and communicate that to us as, oh, that's the color yellow. Yeah. But we can't see the frequency. The frequency. Yeah. We can't see that. It's interesting that you brought up cats, because if you ever look at a cat and study a cat, they are like on one. They are seeing shit that no human could ever see. But to a cat, it exists. It's there. Yeah. So I think cats are like a portal to the universe. Yeah, they really.
Something
really
about
are.
Like their brains existing in another dimension or something.
Maybe.
How wild would that be?
Yeah. But.
Well, that's like that thing they say animals can like sense an earthquake before it's going to happen. Or like a dog will bark at a ghost. That's like a thing, an idea.
It makes sense though. Like they have to be. They have that sixth sense that humans don't have. They're tapped into something.
We do have. We shut it off.
That's true.
And we think
we don't. A lot of us are.
And we eat things that calcify our
pineal gland is.
But.
Like, it's chalked up. Yeah. But yeah, there's a whole world out there that we don't know of. But we know that we can, it has an effect on us. We interact with it, although we can't see it. And, I guess, what do they call that? The metaphysical,
Yeah, that's what you're saying earlier.
Yeah, and there's people who try to study it, who try to break it down. But we may never know the answers. And that's okay. Yeah. I've come to the realization that maybe some things just aren't for us to know.
Understand, yeah.
Some people
meant to be a forever question.
Right. Exactly. And some people will go their whole lives searching for the answers. Why does this happen? Why does this happen to me? Why is this like this? Maybe we're just not meant to know. Maybe, I don't know. And there's a lesson in that, because I feel like there's lessons in everything. Yeah. But why do you need that answer? What is that answer going to do for you? Just gotta ride the wave. Just gotta live your life.
Just gotta live your life, man. Do what makes you happy as much as you can.
True.
We all have our limitations. We all have our boundaries. Life does what it does with us. Sometimes it body slams you.
Oh, life will body slam you.
But you get up and keep going if you want to. If you want to, you get up and keep going. If you don't, that's okay. Yeah. you don't have to, but if you want to, keep going. You got it.
Right.
I remember hearing that. My sister telling me that. Like, that was the first time I ever heard that. The universe body slams you.
Oh, yeah?
I just thought it was so funny.
Yeah? How old were you when you heard that?
Oh, that was recently, yeah. Gotcha. That was when I was living with her.
Gotcha.
But, yeah.
And that's just a part of life. It's like life has these ebbs and flows.
Yeah. Life ebbs and flows.
Life ebbs and flows. Yeah. And, part of the human existence and part of just, I don't know, I can't relate to a plant and everything, but part of the human existence is struggle and pain and, hardships.
He's struggling and in pain.
Dude, Otto is struggling.
We went on a rescue mission and he's on his way to survival. Like, no worries.
Right.
But he got fucked.
He did, unfortunately.
He's okay, though.
We go through,
lose a couple limbs, but
I know, and that's the thing is, like, you go through these hardships, you go through these trials and tribulations to not only test your character, but to build you into a better person, so that way when you do come out on the other side, you're able to see the other side in the first place. And that's the thing is, like, you can't see the light without the dark. That whole analogy, you have to have those hardships, you have to experience the pain, the struggle, the grit of life. It's not beautiful at times, it's not easy, it can be really fucking dark, but those are the moments that can build you into a totally different person, and that's just the natural evolution of human nature, I feel like.
Totally.
And I have no idea. Like, I've went through some shit in my life, but
compared
what
to
have
some
I
other
gone
people.
through? You know what I mean?
I know. I give myself a hard time for that too. Like, I'll be like crying about something, and then this voice will come in my head and be like, "What the fuck are you crying about, you little baby? You haven't nothing happened to you." Right. And like, I'm like, that doesn't make me feel any better. Fuck you. And so it's like a battle in my head. But at the end of the day, it's like, you're hurt by what you're hurt by, and that's okay. You know,
there's
like,
no point in trying to compare yourself to someone else's pain, you don't know. Or struggle, right?
And it's just how you deal with it. It's how you come out on the other side, like you said. Because I can cry about something, but if I don't know how to pick myself up from that, and I just get lost in whatever's getting me down, like, that's when it's really a bummer.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, and like you said, you have to experience the bad to know the good, to like be grateful for the good. Because I think about, like, my dad is the biggest example of this for me. He had a really tough growing up, but he is one of the most grateful people and happy people I've ever met. That doesn't mean he's always at his top, like, best feeling. He's not always having his best day because he's a human, but he has told me, he's like, you know, I achieved everything I ever wanted, and now everything is just extra, and like, I'm so grateful for that.
Right.
And he is like one of the most positive people I've ever met in my life. Right. And he had to go through that, though. He had to go through that and know that he could get out of it to get to where he wanted to be in life.
Right.
And he never doubted himself, too. That's the other thing I've noticed about my dad.
True.
He was like, there's no reason I can't do what I want to do. And I can't wait to have him on this podcast, because he like has such a individualistic story from so many people that I've ever heard.
He needs to be on the podcast.
He will be.
He has a great story.
Yeah, he really does. He better make it into a movie someday. Otherwise, that'll be my job, I guess.
I'm sure he will.
Dad, you better start writing it down now. But yeah, and fuck. I feel like I'm finally getting to a point in my life where I'm starting to find that same kind of confidence in myself. Because I can be fucking hard. Like, especially growing up in the age of social media. You know? Like, I'm really grateful that we grew up in a time where... Because we're at, like, the tail end of the 90s. So we don't get claimed by the 90s kids. But we're definitely not Gen Z. And we got to see the end of the era where computers and technology were not close to where they are today. Like, the beginning of Macs and before the iPhone was around. And it wasn't that long ago, but, like, it's very easy for us within our lifespan to see how things have changed.
Oh, drastically.
And to see how things changed after social media became a thing. And especially for me, like, growing up in LA, in high school, when social media was coming out, that shit was fucking brutal.
Describe it, talk about it.
You're already so insecure in high school. You know, that's like a common trait. Those are middle school, high school, those are the years where you're like trying to figure out who you are, what you like, and like, nobody feels like they fit in or whatever. And it was fucking rough. I mean, I went to high school with 2 of the top supermodels in the world today.
That's true.
And so, like, just having that be a thing, and then having the majority of the girls at my school be of the same kind of like stature and body type and structure, and me totally not, because my parents are short and I'm like 5 foot and muscular, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not tall and skinny model thing. Model thing. Yeah. So it was just really hard for me to feel good about myself when I was surrounded by a lot of people who didn't look like me. And yeah, so that was fucking weird. And then once Instagram came out and became a thing, I think Instagram really started becoming a thing when I was in 9th grade, when I was like 14. That's when I remember really starting to try and post on Instagram.
Talk about how different Instagram is now compared to what it was like back then.
It's so different.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, the filters. Everybody remembers the filters, like the original Instagram filters that are just so bad and just like super dark, or the shadows are really harsh, or like super oversaturated, just like really intense filters. But yeah, because obviously it started as a way to like, hey, like keep up with your friends and your family by just posting pictures and something simple. And then all of a sudden it started to become something that you pose for and you like try and go and get pictures for because likes became a thing. And so it was like a social currency. It turned into a social currency and like a social status thing.
That's
if
a
you
good
got
way to put it, yeah.
X amount of likes, you were more popular. People liked you better. Right,
too.
more followers. Whatever it was. And clearly it's still kind of that way now. And now having a following has actually turned into a value system and profit. Like,
if you know how to monetize it.
Yeah, you gotta learn. But regardless, like, so it was weird. And you just chase after likes because it's dopamine, you know? And yeah, I was always concerned with having an Instagrammable body or face, just being Instagrammable, because that's the teenage era that I grew up in. And then I grew up in LA as well. And then I grew up wanting to be in the acting in the movie industry.
That's tough.
So it was just like constant comparison.
Yeah.
And constant thinking I need to look a certain way.
Yeah.
And fuck, that like that was just the bane of my existence for so long. Like, that's what kept me down, because I was constantly thinking about it.
Right.
And it's exhausting.
At what point did you find yourself, like, at your lowest in terms of
I think I had
physical?
a couple dips.
Yeah.
Like, kind of peaked and troughed and whatever. The first time I noticed I was really concerned with how I looked was when I was 15, and I went through, like, a small period of bulimia. Do you know what that is?
Bulimia is like, it's an unhealthy eating habit, right?
It's the eating disorder when you make yourself throw up after you eat.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing just a shitty Tumblr quote when I was in high school that was like, bulimia is just a weaker version of anorexia because you don't have control. Because anorexia is where you, like, don't eat.
Yeah.
I was like, that's fucked.
Jeez.
Because they're both, like, shitty. But anyway. But yeah, so that's when I kind of, like, first noticed, like, okay, I really care about this for whatever reason. But it didn't really get me out of that feeling. And then when I was 17, 18, I went to college when I was 16. And so I was really... still in that really young insecure phase. Not that you're not already when you're 17, 18, 19 going into college, but it was weird because I was the youngest one around everybody, and we had our first taste of, I say we because it's like, freshman in college, you have your first taste of adult freedom to an extent, and I was looking for validation from guys at the time, and it was weird. And so after that, I just, like, that's when I was at my heaviest. I weighed, I think, like 140, which is not a whole lot for my frame.
For 5 foot
but
tall,
for 5 foot tall, it's a lot. And also, I have genes in my family that were actually naturally quite small. Like, a lot of the women in my family are quite small. And... yeah, and my acne was the worst at that time, and that's when I first went vegan, because I first went vegan to, like, as a guise to lose weight. Like, I just wanted to lose weight. But my mindset still wasn't in the right place for a long, long time.
Yeah. And
so that didn't happen consistently or a lot. I dipped and peaked again, but yeah, so... I realized it was really bad then, like when I was at that point of overweight and acne, and I was just like so unhappy, just so unhappy with how I looked.
Yeah.
And so I started to feel better and like find my way out of it probably once I hit 19, because acne was a big part of it. And I remember talking to my older brother about it, and he was saying, because he had acne when he was a teenager. And he said, when I was 19, it kind of just went away because it can be hormonal.
Right.
And that same thing happened to me. Like, it didn't completely go away. I still have zits on my face every once in a while now. But the, like, cystic, painful, really inflamed acne.
Red bumps.
It went away when I turned 19. And so that just helped bring a wave of, like, feeling better knowing that things would and could change, because I think that was something that held me back for so long.
Yeah.
Because I would work out and eat what I thought was healthy, but still somehow manage to overeat and not do the right things, or just not feel good about it enough to where I just couldn't leave that space.
Right. It's like no matter what you did, you still felt the same.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but fuck, a lot has changed since then.
It's true.
And I've like really, really found peace in my physical being that I have not felt since I was a kid.
It's awesome.
Like since before I was 12. Yeah. And so, yay.
Go you.
I know.
You're glowing.
I'm so happy. Like, I'm so fucking happy about it.
Yeah.
Because God, I used to think about that shit every single day.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And like almost every window I would walk by or mirror, I would have to look at myself because I was nervous about what I looked like.
Yeah.
So I would like keep checking.
Yeah. That's not a fun way to live your life.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But
you made it out on the other side.
I made it out on the other side. And I still have my days where I like look at myself and be like, oh my God, I look like I gained 10 pounds overnight. That's usually the week before I start my period. But so even then, it's hormones fucking with me.
It's true.
But yeah. As long as I feel healthy and alive and well, that's what matters. Exactly. My body supports me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Thanks.
I'm happy for you.
You helped me a lot, you know.
I did.
Yeah, you did.
Me?
Yeah, you did. Just because you helped me feel loved when I felt at my lowest. And so it kind of helped me realize, like, okay, if somebody can love me just the same from the outside, then there's no reason I can't.
It's true. And that's hard. It's hard to get to that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can be, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's worth it. It's definitely worth it. So thank you.
It's worth loving you. So.
Aww. This is turning into a cheesy episode. Sweet. Thank you. I love you.
Love you too.
That was fun. Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
Oh, we're wrapping?
I don't know. I'm just like, that's like...
I don't know. That was pretty solid.
Right?
Like for a first episode, that might be a banger.
Might be a banger. Why the fuck not? Yeah. Episode 1, man. For real.
Happy to be here. It took me some courage, honestly, to get here.
No, I'm proud of you. I am. I'm really proud of you.
I'm not the most comfortable on camera. As a filmmaker myself, I thoroughly enjoy being behind the camera. Any type of project I've ever been on screen for school projects or whatnot, I hated. But I think for me, this is me stepping out of my comfort zone and knowing that I have to take these steps in order to get to where I want to go. So Thank you for encouraging me to come sit down here and talk and
just be you, man.
Yeah.
You're so good at it. You are. That's all you got. And I love you. And I'm proud of you.
Thank you, baby.
All right, folks. That's episode 1 of We're Not Woke. And, yeah. I got down to start asking, like, people in the community what topics they want to hear us cover. If you want to hear us talk about anything specific, I'm going to start having guests on in the near future. In the near future.
I guess the future is new.
Right. The future is new. Yeah, I just want to talk to some cool people, have some good conversations about, whatever the fuck, and get down and boogie with it. So cheers to that.
Hell yeah. Mic cheer.
Mic cheers.
The future is bright, my love.
The future is bright.
The future is bright.
Ooh, we got more for next time.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Otto. You're going to be okay, buddy. We got you.
Pass the mic to Otto. Let's see what you got to say.
What do you have to say for yourself? Oh, that doesn't sound great.
Oh, damn.
I wish we had like one of those, those frequency things
that
you can put on
yeah.
the plants and hear the sound that they make.
We'll get one of those.
Be like, yeah!
We'll get one of those. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh, God. All right.
All right. Is that a wrap?
That's a wrap.
All right. Episode 1.
Episode 1!